Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you wouldn't mind liking this one and subscribing to my channel, that would mean the world to me. Now let's get into the video. So today is construction day. Today we're talking about women in construction. I'm kind of paranoid about this subject because being someone who is a part of the LGBT community and also a part of a marginalized group, and I'm also in what we would call a masculine dominant field, I feel very confident talking about this subject for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because I'm a part of a marginalized community myself. And the second reason is because there are many women in my life that I admire, three of which have been in the trade, including my mother and a couple other people. I've been asked not to give their names, but I did get permission to share their stories. So with all of that being said, let's talk about what it's like to be a minority in the workplace. So first and foremost, it's kind of challenging because you don't feel like you have a safe place to be yourself, nor do you feel like you can really open up to anybody. That's your first roadblock. It doesn't matter if you're a woman, it doesn't matter if you're gay, lesbian, trans, anything in between. What ends up happening every single time in these work environments is that if you are, for example, a woman and you're working, you're working with power tools, dangerous environment, in more than one way. But the hard part is that none of them felt like they really had a voice, which is really, really sad. And I'm going to talk about my mother first. Okay, she works for a large general contractor, I'm not going to name which one, and she does quality control checks, primarily for apartments and office buildings. As she goes through and does her final walkthroughs, she's looking for damages and things that need to be fixed. That is her primary job. Now, a lot of the men that she works with will look down on her. Why? Because women do not belong on a job site. The other thing that ends up happening is that she gets a lot of the blame when something gets missed, or if there's a damage to something else, or being too particular about a certain damage, those types of things. And because of that, you inadvertently end up with never feeling like you can be enough. The next gal, I'm going to talk about her experience a little bit more in depth, because I can leave her completely anonymous. She was someone I worked with back in March of last year. She is an absolute sweetheart. I love this gal. She's in her mid-50s, and so she's dealt with a lot, and she basically got an opportunity to be on a quality control team. And because of being on a quality control team, just like my mother, she got a lot of new responsibilities, and a lot of people didn't like her because she felt like people were out to get her, or because she was with the guys, she therefore is butch, to use her words. Now, this gal in particular had a really, really rough go, and so to try and keep things as family friendly as possible, we will just say that her work phone was taken by some of the upper management over her, and they played a prank on her and filled her phone with naughty and inappropriate illicit images and ones that they took themselves. And she couldn't find her phone and kept asking if people had seen it. She finally finds it. It's outside, it's under a bush, and when she opens her phone, the first thing she sees is that her wallpaper has been set to an inappropriate picture. She got in so much trouble and almost lost her job over it. And it rubbed her the wrong way, literally, to the point where she quit. She drug up because she's a part of the union, and because she had a journeyman license, she was able to go and get another job. And now she works for a different contractor and is relatively happy. She does mostly installs now, and she doesn't do anything to deal with the quality control team. Because her and I had a very similar experience, we were able to connect and sympathize with one another. I dealt with harassment. She dealt with harassment. both were very, very vulgar and inappropriate, and we had a really close relationship, and we were able to help each other through those difficult times. The final gal I'm going to talk about, I worked with the most recent, basically from January up until I got laid off. She is amazing. For how far the job site was and where she lived. She lived all the way up north, and it was about an hour and 45-minute drive for her to get to work. Now, she is someone who's very strong-willed and loves nature. She loves living up north because she has horses, chickens, all sorts of things. And she had many goals and dreams. She put those on the back burner to do electrical work because she felt like it was the easiest way to make a lot of money. And there's a lot of truth to that, right? You hop into a trade because it's almost, for lack of a better word or phrase, a get-rich-quick scheme. Because you're not paying for school, at least not that much, and when you do go to school, because you're in the union, you still get paid during that week of school. So all of these things kind of build up on each other, and you end up feeling like you're in a position where you can succeed. And so all of these women had different stories. Some were very extreme, but for the most part, the one thing they had in common was that they were underappreciated and definitely undervalued. But the biggest thing is they were definitely discriminated against. Now, when we think about women, there's so many wonderful women in any work environment. Think about your mother. Think about your grandmother. Think about the women in your life that really make you a better person. And it breaks my heart that these women get treated like dirt. Misogyny does not have any place in any work environment. If you want to feel safe, like you're able to go to work, you should not be in a place where you feel like you're constantly under attack. Now, for me, for example, I felt incredibly attacked, and the company I worked for never had my back. They said that they had my back, but they never did. They didn't tell me what the disciplinary action was, but if the individual is still on that job site, you're still giving that individual an opportunity to do this again to somebody else. There was a video that I had seen yesterday, and in that video they talked about how narcissism is a huge problem, and they talk about how narcissists typically do not see the problem, and they refuse to acknowledge their own faults. The worst part about narcissists is that when you confront them, they will then go at you with everything they've got in their arsenal, and then they'll make you feel like you're the narcissist. That is how good at manipulation they are. Now, these women, they get the exact same rule book, except a lot of the time, these women, it's almost like a bubble, and people feel like they have the right to either attack them or say inappropriate things because they're one of the guys. I had the exact same experience as a gay guy being on a job site in construction. A lot of people are like, oh, well, you're here, therefore we can talk about all of these inappropriate things, and you will not be offended. That is not true. These women put up with far more than anyone else should ever have to. Things are changing. Women are entering the trades more and more, and we should be respecting that. We should be respecting them and their autonomy to make decisions for themselves. The best way I can encourage young women who are wanting to enter the trade is do your research. Every single state, every single jurisdiction, and every single company does things differently. In one of my earlier videos, I talked about how you should always read the handbook before taking an employment opportunity with any contractor. Now, the reason why I suggest this is because if you do not read that handbook, you're giving way too much power and authority to that company. And you have a huge chance of being taken advantage of. And nobody, I mean nobody, likes being taken advantage of. It doesn't matter how big of a schizophrenic you are. It doesn't matter how much of an autistic individual you are. It doesn't matter about any of those different stereotypes or physical, mental, or other attributes. Because what ends up happening is that you end up in a position where you feel like you're worth less than everyone else around you. You're not strong enough, you're not masculine enough, you're not powerful enough or influential enough. All of these things culminate to a center point of worthlessness, helplessness, and a dependency on others. When you're in a construction trade of any kind, it doesn't matter if you're a superintendent, human resources, a grunt, whether you're doing any task, it doesn't matter. Because you are worth it. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We need to be encouraging young people. Going back to what I would recommend to young women. Please, please, please do your research. The trades are a wonderful place to be, and you can really make a huge impact and help the trades become what they're meant to be. A place where people want to work together, to build community, a place where you belong. With all of that, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. This is more or less a rant at this point, and because of that, I'm going to cut it a little short. I was going to mention some other things, some statistics, but I do think, because of all of these things, that we can really come together, find unity and peace in knowing that the industry is changing, and for the better. And until next time, this has been my coffee corner, and I'll catch you on the next one.